The AxPx podcast is brought to you by Charming Beard Coffee. Go to charmingbeard.com and enter in the code AXPX when you buy a bag of their single roasted coffees and get 10% off of your order. Charming Beard Coffee, quality small batch single origin coffee for the discerning coffee drinker. Beard not necessarily required.
Don't cry. You can rely on me, honey.
Well, welcome everyone to the AxPx podcast, the first one in a couple weeks. Sorry to keep you all waiting. Joey is absent today because I decided to do a spur of the moment show. He is doing some stuff this weekend and wasn't going to be available. So that's that. We have this epic podcast that we did 2 weeks ago that got lost to the sands of time, or to the hard drive gods. I don't know, but we did it. We had Rob Davis on, and I put on Facebook that we were talking to Rob Davis, and that episode got lost. My computer crashed mid-episode, as we were wrapping up, and the file got corrupted. So digital 0, analog 1. So if I would have just had an analog recording, we'd be fine. So anyway, so that's that. We're going to try to get him on hopefully next week or so. And we had some fun shows lined up for the rest of the week. And me and Joey actually maybe trying to record something tonight just to get him on. So there may be a double episode. I don't know. I'm figuring it out as we go. So we're today's guest is Aaron Crane. He's the worship pastor at Bridge Church. Is it the Bridge Church?
The Bridge Church.
The Bridge.
There you go.
And so we've been friends for a couple years now.
Yeah.
We don't hang out much, but
yeah. But we are friends.
We are friends. He's the young married guy with no kids, and I'm the crazy married guy with 3 kids.
Yes.
So
that sometimes that makes it a little bit hard to get together and hang out. Yeah,
a little bit. So I decided it would be fun to kind of talk praise and worship today, just because it's funny because my co-host Joey can't stand praise music. So,
maybe it works that he's not here today.
Well, I kind of wanted him to be on the show to kind of throw his kind of skeptical questions your way, but that's okay. We'll do fine without it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we wanted to just talk about kind of your journey and how you got into, being getting paid to lead praise and worship and things like that. So,
okay.
Sound good?
Cool. Sounds good to me, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're outside in my backyard today. It's a nice a little bit overcast day. The birds are singing.
And fighting.
And fighting. Babies are crying in the distance. And it's kind of relaxing.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I thought about smoking my pipe, but I figured with the microphone in front of me and everything, it just may be a little bit too complicated. I don't know if I can do that. So maybe if I had a lapel, or maybe I can try to get my Xbox Live thing to work.
Your headset?
I don't know if that's really going to be real good quality.
I don't know. I've never tried it.
It's not that important that I smoke a pipe right now.
Right. They can wait. They can wait. So, Aaron, man, tell me a little bit about your kind of background. When did you become a Christian and kind of your journey into Christianity? Okay.
Kind of start there.
I grew up in a Christian home. Both of my parents actually are from Jewish families, and they became Christians in around 1970, 1971. And they, it's kind of an interesting process for them. They were kind of shunned by the rest of the family because when you are raised in a traditional Jewish home, obviously it's a big deal when you believe in Jesus as the Messiah.
Right.
So they were disowned, to say the least. My grandparents had basically mourned over them as if they had died. And it's kind of an interesting perspective that I've seen from, I think it's always been a big deal that Jews do not accept Jesus as the Messiah, but modern day, Judaism correlates it more with like you're siding with Hitler or something, you know, and so that's kind of how it was looked upon. You know, well, Hitler said he was a Christian, you know, and so that's kind of the perspective that my grandparents had. You know, so for my parents, it was a really big life-changing thing when they decided to become Christians. So that was, 10 years or so before I was born, 9 or 10 years before I was born. So I grew up in a Christian home. There was some complications with my birth when I was born. I actually had to be resuscitated 4 times. I had hyoid disease, which is undeveloped lungs. And so through all of that, my mom going into the room and praying for me while I was in the incubator and things like that. I was 2.5 months early and, just all kinds of things like that. So, I was kind of from an early age taught about Jesus, Jesus healing me, when I was a baby and being attacked by bees.
A bee just landed on
I do not like bees. Do you have something that I can kill the bee with? Yeah, smack it on me. Yeah, do it. I don't know, just
If it stings, you're gonna blow up like a balloon.
will it leave if you just shun it with that paper? Yes, we
You
got
just
him.
murdered a bee. Live on the podcast. I'm totally leaving that in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, anyway,
That was crazy. It kind of, hold on one second. If you're sitting in my perspective, my position right here, it kind of floated down like it was just la 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 la, and just landed on his on
and
Aaron's
it had
leg.
pollen all over its legs, like
It's probably like pollen drunk,
right.
but we just killed it. So
And when Sean hit it with his pad of paper, it just fell without even trying to fly away or
it was full.
or attack. It
It was
was
full. We actually took advantage of a full bee and killed it. That'd be like if you had too much pasta.
Yeah.
And you landed on a giant's leg and the giant just killed you.
too much Alfredo.
To our Hindu listeners, we're sorry.
Yeah.
I would really try to respect all animals unless, we're eating them or they get in our way. So we're the superior species.
That's funny. Yes.
Hold on. Hello? No, she's not. Can I take a message?
So right about now, Sean is taking a phone call.
I'm ready. What's going on?
Looks like someone is calling for Jennifer. Is taking a message.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's this concerning? Okay. All right, thanks. I'm like, how much do I edit the show and how much do I just let it go?
Yeah, I think it's we're keeping it real here.
Wow. This is what happens when you don't have your kids play video games during the podcast. They actually interact.
Right. They come
really
in
crazy.
and they want to be part
It's a
of
really
the
crazy
podcast.
thing.
And it's cool. I mean, they can add their input as well, whatever they feel. So
Oh my goodness. Okay,
like I was
here we
saying,
go.
I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were they had converted to Christianity from Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
And so both of my parents they were also musicians,
Okay.
and that's how they met each other in the 60s, early 60s. My dad was a singer for a band called Lenny and the Ramblers, and
Awesome.
he was a singer as well as a piano player and accordion player.
Okay.
And my mom was a singer. Her stage name was Renee D, and they were playing a gig together, and they had the same agent. And my dad had made a bet with some of the guys that he would be able to go on a date with my mom. She didn't give him the time of day initially.
Uh-huh.
Eventually, he kept, persisting, and they started dating, and ended up getting married. I think my dad was 21 and my mom was 19.
Nice.
So my dad had gone to Hebrew school and, done the whole thing, growing up in the Jewish home. And out of his brothers, he was really the one that was supposed to be kind of the, whether it was he was a rabbi or a cantor.
Right, okay.
Because he was a singer. And, my family, our last name is actually Cohen, Cohen.
Okay.
And that's kind of that implies that you're a direct descendant of Aaron. Moses' brother Aaron.
Cohen.
Cohen.
That's funny because I'm actually doing a Harvard online kind of course or listening to the lectures, and the professor, his last name's Cohen.
Yeah.
And he says that's why he got into professor. He's like, otherwise I'd be a rabbi.
Exactly.
Or if he was in the temple, he would be an actual Levite. Or
Well, the Levite would be the lineage,
right?
And that's if we were to trace the lineage, there would probably be a lot of that,
nice
there. So you're
kind of following in the line of your ancestors a little bit, being a worship pastor.
Exactly. I believe in Jesus as the Messiah. So that's generally, growing up in a Christian home, obviously I was always in church growing up. And my parents were very involved in church. My dad led worship. My mom was part of the worship team. So it was kind of something that I was around a lot growing up. And I think I got involved in it in an early age. I was singing in church, like singing. I sang my first solo at like 2.5 years old, and we just from there I got really involved in being part of worship teams. I sang on worship teams and things like that. But I never wanted to necessarily pursue it. It wasn't something that I wanted to pursue when I was a kid.
Right.
I was a lot more interested in sports. As weird as it may seem, I loved playing basketball. As short as I am, I'm only about 5'6", but I wanted to be the first white Jewish basketball point guard in the NBA. And
you all need to have dreams.
Played football, and so I really didn't want to do music as a career. I wasn't really interested in it. When I was younger, I was really into hip hop music. I liked rap, and I was kind of like you could call me a wigger. I was the kid that that wore like the oversized Tommy Hilfiger clothing and Nautica stuff. That was kind of that was really what I was into for a while. Like I would say junior high and beginning of high school. And then all the while I was pursuing, wanting to pursue sports, though as unrealistic as it really was, I wasn't great at it. I loved playing it. I auditioned for the choir in my high school. I went to a private Christian high school, and so I auditioned for the choir. Ended up singing "Oh Happy Day," the Sister Act song, and that was kind of the first solo that I had in high school. Yeah. And from then on, I fell in love with singing and doing that. So I really started pursuing that. But I would say, probably around my junior year of high school, I felt, I was at a youth camp, and, it was in that moment of youth camp where it's really emotional and everyone's crying or whatever. If you want to say that was, if any of it was fabricated or, just people acting on their emotion, if you want to say that, I'm sure there was a lot of that going on. But I felt during that one particular night, just kind of in my heart, I felt like I could say God was speaking to me and calling me to do worship, and this is what I want you to do. And it kind of resonated in me like, this is what I want to do.
Was it during like a worship service? And just
it was.
On stage, you just feel like, wow, this is...
I wasn't on stage.
But there was somebody on stage, right? A worship group, a worship band, or... Exactly.
A worship band was on stage, and I just kind of felt like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I did whatever I could at that point to really pursue doing that. And it kind of worked itself out because my best friend ended up moving to Oklahoma, and he was the worship leader in our youth group. So I kind of had to step up at that point. It was like, all right, I was the guy now. I have to learn how to lead worship or whatever. And so I started teaching myself piano around like my junior year of high school, senior year of high school. Started teaching myself piano and started leading worship in the youth group on keyboard, and started doing that. And then I ended up going to Vanguard University, which back then when I started, it was Southern California College.
Okay.
And it's a private Christian school, Assemblies of God denomination school in Costa Mesa.
So you couldn't dance.
And so exactly, because dancing leads to sex. And no, sex leads to dancing. That's that's how it is.
Really?
It's almost like dancing is so bad, that's kind of how it was viewed, was like, sex leads to dancing.
You'd
That was
think-
the big joke. That was the big
That's
joke
funny.
on campus.
Because you'd think dancing, all the gyrating
Right.
would lead the other way around.
Right, but no, they
Wow.
that they don't really think that. That was just
Okay.
the joke. You get it? That was
Okay.
the joke. Sex
Yeah, I'm
leads to
taking it literally.
dancing. Yeah, no, that's definitely not literal. That is. So I went to Vanguard. I studied music my first 2 years. So with the intention of being, emphasis in worship as my major. Because it's a private liberal arts college, so you can study that kind of stuff. So I studied music for 2 years, and I was involved in choir and Vanguard Singers and Band, chapel worship team, barbershop quartet, basically any musical outlet I could be a part of. I was in it. I did theater my freshman year as well, but ended up dropping that.
Okay.
I did it because I had a scholarship, but then kind of was done with that.
You're done with the theater?
Right, done with the theater. I enjoyed it. I did it in high school as well, but
Yeah. You
it
just
was
went
way
straight-
too much to carry.
You just wanted to just pursue just straight on just music.
Right, exactly. And so, specifically in the vein of, worship music, so through Vanguard University, I kind of got involved with, had the opportunity to get connected with their youth convention, which is something that the Assemblies of God, all the districts for the Assemblies of God, they have something called youth convention that happens every year.
Right.
And the San Diego one is one of the larger ones, upwards of maybe 7,000, 8,000 kids at the convention center down in San Diego. So I got, I was part of that worship team, led worship, did that for maybe 5 years or so, before they started moving up to the Phil Wickhams and the David Crowders and the Jeff Deos, the
You
big
got
names.
bumped off for the
Yeah, exactly.
headliners.
Yeah. So, but that was fun. I really enjoyed doing that, and did a lot of their youth camps, summer camps, and winter camps. And let's see, all the kind of in the middle of all that, I ended up leading worship at a church plant out here in Murrieta. That was probably around 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I did that volunteer for about 5 years, and then got hired there, and was the worship pastor there for 5 years. And now, 3 years ago, I got hired at the Bridge, which used to be New Covenant Church, and I've been there it was just 3 years as of Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
So
Cool, man.
so that's kind of the journey.
abridged history
the abridged
of Aaron Crane.
history.
It's interesting because New Covenant would pretty much be considered my home church since we moved out here to Southern California back when I got married, and I'd always complained about the worship there. I was just always like, oh man, it's just, it's just because I don't know, I'm already kind of critical when it comes to like a pastor's message or whatever.
Right.
But I was at the time I was very much really trying to just be as good a Christian as I can, good a Christian husband, leading a family and everything.
Right.
And but I was always frustrated by the worship, and I'd always complain. Almost
Just wasn't your style.
Yeah, every Sunday on the way home, I'd be like, I just don't feel it. I just don't like it. Just very Rhema.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I'd been to a few Rhema church services and stuff like that, and it's funny because right when you got hired on or started leading worship at New Covenant was when I basically hit the reset. When I call it now, I hit the reset button on my faith.
Right.
And basically, what I did was just, you know what, I'm gonna not believe anymore, and I'm going to just try to rediscover, kind of build up what I learned.
Start
in
at
church
square
and everything.
one and
Kind of do that,
yeah.
and then like all of a sudden, like a good worship leader comes in, so and so that was cool, and that's what actually helped me to kind of stick around.
Cool.
Because I just wasn't feeling church at all.
Yeah.
And just had no desire to go. I was just like, maybe I should need to find another church, but we have a history with New Covenant.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when the time that you arrived was very interesting, kind of correlation in my life. And,
Right.
and after I think a year, you had met my wife because she
She auditioned.
She auditioned.
Yes.
It's kind of a funny story. I'm not going to dive into the whole thing, but she thought she was just auditioning for like the choir, just to be in the background.
Oh.
But it was more of like, someone holding the mic.
Right. Because we don't generally have a choir.
Right.
Choir
right.
is a special occasion thing. So
Exactly. And so she was, just to say the least, just really embarrassed.
Oh.
Just really embarrassed.
She shouldn't be.
But she goes, the worship leader, this guy Aaron. She's like, he was so nice. It was like she was like, I was so embarrassed and just wanted to crawl under a rock. But you handled it so well.
Cool.
And so
that's a tough part of my job is having to do the auditions.
Yeah.
It's
so
very tough.
And then she was like, he's kind of a cool. Like you guys should hang out. And I'm like, well, that's just kind of weird. I'm not going to call some guy that I've never met. Hey, my wife says we should hang out, man.
Right. Right.
It's just really weird. But eventually, we got to meet, and she was at church. I was at church because she normally works on the weekends. So anyway, our paths crossed, and we actually met. And you're a Star Wars geek and a G.I. Joe geek.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
So
big time.
We hit it off.
Big time.
So love right away.
Bromanson. Yeah.
So that was great. To finally connect that way, and just having someone who actually cared musically about what you guys were doing as far as the worship goes, was awesome. So
cool.
Let's. I want to dive into a few more things,
Sure.
specifically about your kind of journey into praise and worship. But let's start. Let's take a break. Take a break here, and I had Aaron for today's show write down two of his kind of favorite right now, like
current
praise and worship
favorites.
songs, current favorites, because. If he's kind of a geek like me, like even with music, you kind of never have a all-time favorite of anything. It's kind of, well, what mood am I in? What am I listening to right now, or what am I watching right now?
Exactly.
You're going to talk about movies with me. But the first song I want to play right now, this is a song called 10,000 Reasons. It's by Matt Redman, and you're listening to the AxPx podcast.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name, sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing Your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name, sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name, sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. Bless You, Lord. is failing, the end draws near, and my time has come. Still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. Come on, bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. Yes, I will worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. Jesus, I will worship your holy name. Worship your holy name.
From his album 10,000 Reasons, that is Matt Redman with the song 10,000 Reasons. You're listening to the AxPx podcast, and we're talking with the Bridge worship pastor, Aaron Crane. And I wanted to dive into kind of more about praise and worship and kind of your current philosophy and how you kind of got to where you are, with praise and worship and what it means to you. So while you were going to college, did you have a point? Because you've been a Christian your whole life. You didn't have kind of the roller coaster with faith that I did with my growing up.
Right.
Did you have a point while you're going to college that you did question anything? Was there kind of a rough time for you when you're trying to, kind of, I think everyone kind of goes through this no matter what. You kind of get to a point where you want to figure out where
things
you stand
on your own without other people telling you what you believe.
Yeah, did you have a time like that in college, and kind of how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I did, and it was less of do I believe in Jesus or not. I never really had a big struggle with that. My biggest issue was, what do I believe about my theology? What is my, what do I believe about God? Because, maybe the church that I went to taught me something specific that I was supposed to believe.
Right.
But having different, theologians as professors in college, some being conservative theologians, some being liberal theologians, really made me question a lot of the things that I grew up believing. It wasn't that I was questioning whether I believed in Jesus or not as much as it was, what do I believe about these birds are fighting in the tree? And Sean threw a pipe of some sort.
It's a broken handle to
a broken handle.
Yeah, it just
to the hose winder.
Yeah,
thingy.
it broke, and I just left
ours
it there.
did too.
Ridiculous.
I think it's because we don't want to actually guide the hose. We just crank on the handle and hope it gets to where it needs to be.
I was in a hurry to get that stupid hose in.
Right. That's what happened.
All right.
But,
I digress. Here we go.
So that was, it was more of what specifically did I believe? And
Did you have?
I think it's.
Did you have conversations? How did you deal with that? Did you have conversations with even professors and like that, or?
I did. I had conversations with professors. I had conversations with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I had conversations with my pastor. It was one of those things where I think I personally, I grew up thinking that it was wrong to question things, that it was wrong to have any sort of doubt, because doubt and unbelief are the opposite of faith, and it is faith that pleases God. So you cannot doubt. And it's like, even if you're doubting, you're not allowed to say you're doubting. You have to say, like, I believe it. And don't say I'm doubting. Don't say I'm questioning. Force this belief on yourself, like this blind belief without being able to question anything. And I think as I've gotten older, and this is even something within the last 3 or 4 years,
Right.
I've really felt now that I can't just accept things, that I need to question things, because you don't arrive at an answer unless you've asked a question.
Right.
Obviously. So I think that it is important to ask those questions, and it's okay. And I don't think that God gets intimidated by us asking questions.
Yeah, I always say, I'm like, even when kind of getting in heated discussion with my wife, just we in the past 2 years, we've gotten into more conversations about spiritual things, which is awesome. I think we actually talk more about spiritual things now than we ever have. And even though that I'm always kind of challenging or asking the challenging questions, and I think that's okay. Like, I think we're coming to a point in our conversations that it's okay to ask questions and doubt and not have the answer. We don't have to have the answer.
I think about the disciples.
Yeah.
Who were with Jesus, and they saw what he did.
Yeah,
we have heard the stories of what he did, and maybe we've seen things in our lives that we would classify as a miracle. Mm-hmm. But there were disciples that doubted, and they saw everything.
Yeah.
They were there. Thomas, I mean, he doubted when he saw.
Yeah,
and we don't see, and it's like. If people want to accuse us for having wrong perspective because we doubt or because we have question, I'm like, what about Thomas? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think Thomas gets a fair shake. I actually think that even the past couple of years, as I've been going through my stuff, I actually kind of hold him at a higher regard now, because you used to be taught that, like, doubting Tom, don't be a doubting Thomas.
No, and I'm not even viewing it from the perspective of don't be like that.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, he dealt with that.
Right, but what I was saying is, like, even when I was younger and having questions, right? That's kind of what's thrown back at you. Don't be a doubting Thomas.
Right.
And I actually respect Thomas for actually having the the balls to challenge Jesus right there, and ask for proof.
Mm-hmm.
And so I respect that. And I think people take that passage. I mean, Jesus does say, blessed are those who believe and who have not seen. It is a message, and it is, there is a message there. But I think that we need to look at that story and kind of breathe a sigh of relief. It's like, it is okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's better to not. Jesus says it's better not to have seen and believe, but we're human.
There's a very very human aspect to asking those questions.
Yeah, so I think it's awesome. Was there something in particular that kind of threw you for a loop with your more, like, kind of, I guess would say, quote unquote liberal professors? Was there? I mean, did you? I don't know what classes did you take. Did you take more Bible classes? Was that?
Yeah,
I took where you were kind of.
It was in my Bible classes. Where I was kind of began to question a lot of things, and It was, like I said, the first 2 years of college, I was a music major, but you still have to take religion classes because of, it's a Christian school, so you have to have your Bible credits. So it was kind of in the middle of my, I was going into my junior year when I changed my major. I became a religion major. Mm-hmm. And so I really I was taking a ton of courses because I was trying to graduate in 4 years so I could have financial aid. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of cramming everything, and I was just being inundated with all of these classes at once, Mm-hmm.
And so you would have 2 classes or 3 classes all with different perspectives.
Yeah, they could have different perspectives. And it wasn't that it was, back then I thought it was maybe a bad thing for people to have this certain view of God.
Right.
Because it was so contradictory maybe with what I was taught.
Yeah.
And
what kind of theology exactly is what I'm probing for? Like what?
I guess.
Like, what was it like? Whether or not the Bible is 100% true? Was it that sort of thing, or was it just how stories were interpreted?
Yeah, maybe how things were interpreted. And understanding that a lot of what took place in Scripture was in that specific time, and just because it happened there doesn't apply to every aspect of our lives as well.
Right.
Understanding that bad things don't happen just because we don't have faith. And that was a big thing that kind of rocked me, because I kind of grew up with this understanding that if you have faith, you will never have anything bad happen to you, almost.
Exactly.
That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
But now, I look on it now, and even what Pastor Gary teaches is that you have faith because of those challenges. Right. And it's not, you're not going to not, you will have challenges. And it's the faith that you have that will carry you through that.
Right.
It's not the opposite. It's not you won't have anything if you have faith.
I almost feel like...
And a lot of that rocked me when I was a kid.
Well, I feel like there's things like that will rock people, and there's things like that cause people to... people that I've talked to, like even atheists and stuff like that I've talked to, that they were raised up with the understanding that, number one, the Bible is 100% God-breathed and inspired by God, and even dictated by God. They believe that. So that's kind of a stepping... So look at it as like a tower of cards, right? You got a tower of cards. So the bottom is, all right, the Bible is 100% infallible. So there'll be churches that teach that, there's one little thing you find wrong with the Bible, then what's it all worth? It's worth nothing, right? A contradiction or whatever. And then the other thing is, the other teaching is that, if something is bad happening to you, if you get hurt or bad things are happening, you're not doing enough, that you're not close enough to God and you need to draw closer to God, and bad things will stop happening. That's another of the base of the cards, so when something bad happens, like for me with my brother-in-law dying, that was like, knocking the cards, the base out of the cards, and everything falls down. Where I think that's wrong teaching. I don't think churches should be stressing that, because that causes people to really, I think, shake up their whole perspective and just disavow everything and just walk away.
I think it's dangerous to think that if somebody dies, that you tell them, well, they died because they didn't have enough faith, or
a hurricane happens, or that hurricane hit that town because they took prayer out of schools, like that kind of crazy Pat Robertson teaching. And it's interesting because I've been listening to... There's a couple of podcasts that I listen to. One's called Dogma Debate. It's the host is David Smalley. He's an atheist, came from a strong evangelical background. And then another podcast called The Thinking Atheist. I've had their host, Seth Andrews, on the show. They were both raised with a very evangelical, fundamental, teaching that the Bible is just... every single jot, even in the English translation, right, is inspired by God. So once they started seeing, and it's 100% literal, and the God of the Old Testament is the same God as today, and so you remove one piece, or one piece doesn't make sense, their whole tower of cards fell down. So they're very much hearing them talk, and they can't really look at the Bible. They only look at the Bible kind of a certain way, where they're kind of like, well, I can't even believe anything in this Bible because this, and this. And then it's interesting when they get a guest on. Seth Andrews had a Methodist minister, and he doesn't believe that the Bible is 100% infallible. He thinks that there's a lot of problems with the Old Testament, and it's not, doesn't apply to today. And
translation errors.
There's translation errors. There are contradictions, but he's okay with that. It doesn't change this Methodist minister's faith at all, because he has a. There's a certain study, I can't think of it right now, a certain way of looking at the Bible, like a historical way of looking at the Bible. And even with David Smalley in his podcast, and they're talking about kind of gay marriage, and he thinks, how could you be a Christian and be okay with gays? Because it says in the Bible this, 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 and this. Well, I consider myself, the way I still consider myself very inspired by the teachings of Jesus. That's the one thing that, out of the New Testament that I really hold on to and find and hold dear. So I'm always behind the message of grace. Everyone has grace, and that's how I can look at myself supporting something like gay marriage, or even there's a whole even rabbit hole we're going to go down to, and I'm not going to go down there because I really don't. Ultimately, it's ridiculous that that the government is even having a say in defining marriage. It shouldn't even be up to the government. But that's how I find, that's how I can have gay friends and be okay, and not try to change them or anything like that. But I know on Facebook, David Smalley, he even posted something and said, well, the Bible says this, this, and this, so you can't be for, if you're a Christian, you can't be for, supporting gay people. So it's just interesting how their backgrounds, in the church caused them to just fully reject, Christianity based on a church teaching them, a certain way. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a slippery slope with a church and things like that.
Right.
And I don't even know where Pastor Gary stands on this kind of stuff. I've always wanted to talk to him and to be like, do I keep coming here or not? Where do you stand on some things?
Yeah.
But really, I don't think that he said some things about the infallibility of the Bible and things like that, but it's really not. I don't think it's stressed. Whereas, other churches kind of pound you over the head with that.
Yeah.
And once you start to doubt, you almost just feel rejected.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where I was going with all that, but
I don't know how we got there.
I don't know. I was just talking.
Oh, you were asking about things that maybe
just kind of
questioning when I was in school.
Echoing this type of stuff.
Sure.
Did you feel any sort of condemnation or anything like that when you were trying to figure things out on your own, or did you have kind of a good support group of people that you can bounce things off of?
I felt like there was a pretty good support group of people. My family's awesome. And so I think they were really able to, go along that journey with me as I was questioning stuff, and
just have discussions with you as opposed to
right. And occasionally, I think it did. Sometimes it would get a little bit heated, but I think that's the natural course that happens when you have been taught something for so long, and then you start to question it. And I'm sure that's what you've been going through. Is you grow up thinking one thing, and then you start to see it from a different perspective, maybe. And
you basically deconstruct it, and be like, why did I believe the way I believed? Why, you know? And my thing is always, I'm in a journey of just taking all these kind of Bible classes and discovering how the heck the Bible got put together. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And some people, like my wife, she's like, you know what? That doesn't, I don't need to know that. Mm-hmm. All I know is that there is truth in these words, and I find truth and peace, in the Bible, but I'm more of an analytical person. It's just different personalities. And I think a lot of people they'll take things personally, but it's just everyone has a different personality. Mm-hmm. People like me, I'm obsessive. I'm going to destroy, Jesus said in the New Testament he'll destroy the temple in 3 days, right? You know what I mean? That's pretty much what I did. I just demolished the temple, right? And I'm trying to rebuild it.
Right.
So
well, I cool. And I work with the youth too. I'm the, I guess you could say I'm the youth pastor. I'm the director of student ministries at the Bridge as well. And, that's one thing that I really stress the importance with our students is, don't take everything, don't just take everything that we tell you.
Right.
And apply it to your life as fact. Make sure that you dissect it on your own, that you are figuring it out on your own. Yeah. And you're not just taking the belief of your parents and saying that's what you believe. Mm-hmm. Because studies show that, a large percentage of students, once they graduate high school, they're not coming back to church. Yeah. Because it was something that their parents forced them to believe, and they never really learned it for themselves. Yeah. And so that's really important with me is that the kids' faith, that the students, their faith is strong in and of themselves. Yeah. And it's not just something they're regurgitating.
Do you find a lot of students I mean, I'm not around high school students that much these days. I'm around a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old and a baby. That's my experience with children nowadays.
Yeah.
Do you find that a lot of students these days are having more questions, or,
Sure.
do you feel like it's more of a struggle for them just with the kind of the internet? I mean, you can look up pretty much anything.
Right.
You can basically back up any idea from something on the internet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do. I find that it's people question a lot more now than
Yeah.
they did when I was a youth.
Yeah.
And again, not that it's a bad thing, but we need to have the answer. It's
Yeah.
like the Bible tells us to have an answer for everyone that has a question. And it's not this. Should be more. And I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But I should seek to have them. And it's not this like, well, you don't need all the answers. You don't. But you need to be moving in the direction to have as many as you can.
Yeah.
It's not just, just believe it,
Right. You need to
So
back it up.
apologetics are a very important thing, to me. I think that we should be able to argue our faith. We should have the answer, not argue our faith, but defend our faith,
Right.
when people have questions. And, but like you said, I do think it is a very big thing right now that people are questioning. The students are not... it's just a different world that we live in with the
Yeah.
internet. And I think, I don't know if you would call it new atheism or whatever it
Yeah.
is. It's a very trendy thing right now.
It's kind of a movement, and we actually did a show on it a while ago. It's almost like an evangelizing movement.
Right.
I mean, it's very loud and very vocal, where before a lot of atheists, they just kind of keep that to themselves. That's their belief. And, in certain areas, maybe they'll challenge some things.
Right.
But yeah, this whole new atheism thing, it's kind of taking there's a kind of the pendulum's kind of swung a certain way in our culture where it's just, I don't know if it's the internet. A lot of people say it is. Just that there's a bigger platform for people to get their message out.
Right.
But yeah, the new atheism thing kind of does have an agenda.
Right.
They're not just kind of keeping it to themselves and discussing with other people about it. They're very much about getting their agenda out, getting their message out,
Right.
and trying to steer people clear of religion altogether, or they're almost trying to destroy religion. Like,
Right.
I think it's like Christopher Hitchens. Richard Dawkins wants religion gone, and he's a big proponent of that. Christopher Hitchens, the late Christopher Hitchens, always was very combative with Christianity, but he didn't really necessarily want it to go away because he enjoyed arguing. But he was very venomous towards that religion is a bad thing. It's just there's a lot of vocal people. So right now, currently, it's kind of Sam Harris, and podcast hosts like Seth Andrews wrote a book, and it's a certain group of people, and I think most of them came from more of an evangelical fundamentalist Christian view.
It's
just and so they had that evangelism in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that same passion just comes out back, the opposite.
Yeah, Dan Barker was a former fundamentalist pastor that actually helped write a lot of popular praise and worship songs that actually churches use today still.
Wow.
But he had they have that passion to get some message out.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
A friend of mine from high school. Well, I use the term friend loosely. I mean, we don't really
Acquaintance?
talk. We're Facebook friends now. But we, in high school, we kind of were friends and stuff. And this guy was one of the more vocal Christian guys. Like I said, I went to a Christian private school.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it was in San Juan Capistrano. A lot of the kids were not Christians.
Well, they're there 'cause their
they had a
parents
lot of
sent them there,
money.
right?
Their parents put them in the school. A lot of kids got expelled from the public schools, and so they were in the Christian school now. And, so it didn't, just because it was a private Christian school, didn't mean anything. A lot of Muslim families had their kids in the school as well. And a lot of them I was, good friends with.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a Jewish guy, and I'm friends with Muslim kids. The thought,
Yeah.
and... But it was this kid was he grew up in a really strong Christian home. I believe his dad was even a pastor, and I think they were from the South, like maybe from Georgia or something. And like out of high school, he went to seminary, and now he's full blown atheist and is like vehemently vocal about how he does not believe in Jesus, in creation, in the Bible, and in anything. How it's weak to believe in Jesus, and he's always picking fights. Always on Facebook. That's like his goal is to pick fights. Yeah, it's not you're pretty vocal on Facebook about the things that you might believe, kind of but you're not trying to pick fights with people.
Right. I put things out there and see kind of the responses, and it's almost a way for me to kind of just mull over an idea in my head, just kind of post it, see what the response I get back from people. Well, yeah, sometimes I'm fishing to stir things up. Of course I am, but
it's
I'm not looking for people's posts to attack them.
And that's how he is. I mean, he'll go on for 100 comments. It'll be back and forth thing. And then, on both sides, people are attacking each other, and, his family is like, please stop this. I mean, he's being very in your face about it. And the only way that I can define what he's gone through is that his knowledge of God was all in his head, and I think that there is a balance, and I think that's kind of like you and Jen might maybe have this polar opposite thing where her belief about God is in her heart so strong.
It's very personal,
and the way that your personality is it's your head. You are thinking about this, and it's got to make sense in your brain, and you've got to analyze everything. And I don't like cliches at all, but this is one that I do think is true. Knowing the Word of God and knowing the God of the Word, and it's something I've heard over and over again. And a lot of people grow up in church hearing that phrase. We need to know the God of the Word and not just the Word of God. Right. And I think it's a balance of those things together, because it's more than just knowing it in my head, and it's more than just feeling it in my heart. Yeah. If you want to use that phrase. Yeah. It's both of those things together. I mean, we are created with a mind, we're created with a soul, so it's those things working together, understanding that's my understanding of God. And so when I'm worshiping God and when I'm leading worship, it is affirming what I know in my brain about God. I read a statistic that 50% of what Christians believe about God comes from what they sing about God. And that's a pretty interesting thing, So that's how powerful what we sing is. Yeah. And so that being 50% of what we believe about God is what we sing, and obviously music is such it moves our souls. Yeah. It moves our everything about us emotionally. I think something we talked about when we first started hanging out, when you were questioning a lot and doubting, was you could be in the middle of this moment where you were, I don't believe this, or I'm not sure if I believe this, and maybe Jen would be playing a worship song in the house, and it would move you to tears,
like a sniveling mess,
right? Because it moved you that way, and I understand that's the power of music and the power of worship, really. So
I want to come back and talk more about worship, about your job, what you do, and how it affects you, and things like that. We'll move into that, but we'll play another song. Oh, where'd my sheet go?
Under your foot.
Under my foot. I'm very professional today.
Yes.
This is another song, one of your current favorites. Yeah. The group, it's Bethel Live, and the song is called "You Have." Wait, what is that?
You Have Won Me.
Your handwriting.
Sorry.
My handwriting's worse. Don't worry about it.
Who writes? I
no, we're so used to typing. I was.
Can I text it to you?
Yeah. Please text me this list. Yeah. I'm gonna grab a trail, then we're gonna go into the song. Okay. I was talking to actually Rob Davis on Facebook, and he was asking. He's making fun of Comic Sans. That typeface.
Oh, I hate it.
And I told him, my handwriting is like Comic Sans because I read too much Garfield and The Far Side. Like my experience with comics.
That's awesome.
So we're gonna wait for this helicopter to pass, and then we'll jump to a song. Just pause and listen to the birds in the helicopter. All right. All right, so this is Bethel Live with "You Have Wore Me."
One.
No, sorry. This is. I was kidding. This is Bethel Live with You Have Won Me on the AxPx podcast. Back with Aaron right after this.
My shame, draw me with love and kindness, and washed whiter than snow. You have redeemed and made me whole. In grace, you show me grace. You've lifted my shame. You've drawn me with love and kindness, and washed whiter than snow. You have redeemed and made me whole. In Jesus, you have won me. You've broken every chain with love and mercy. You triumphed over death, and you are worthy of glory and praise. Love, you show me love by leaving
album For the Sake of the World. That is Bethel Live with You Have Won Me. You're listening, of course, to the AxPx podcast. We're talking to Aaron Crane. Aaron Cohen.
Yeah.
Aaron Crane. He's the worship pastor at the Bridge Church. And so the church is in Marietta, California.
TheBridgeChurch.tv.
There you go. So I want to talk about just kind of how praise and worship like affects you, like why you're passionate about it, and things like that. So
Okay.
you said that about 50% of what people believe is kind of based off what they sing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of people. I mean, there's people that dissect praise and worship songs. You know, the content, like what is this song saying, and some people get crazy, ridiculous with tearing apart a praise and worship song, the lyrics.
Right.
What kind of goes into your process when you're choosing like what the set is going to be?
Okay.
You know, for Sunday.
Okay, choosing the set for Sunday. That's funny because a friend of mine asked me this exact question yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And really, all the songs are, I prayerfully consider every set list that we do. It's not like I'm just flipping a coin and picking out songs to do. I want to make sure that the songs we do are singable, that they're melodic enough that people can catch them. We're not going to do stuff that's really complicated that people can't sing. The whole purpose of us leading worship is not to have cool music, which that's part of it. I mean, I'm a musician, so I want it to sound cool.
Yeah.
And there's the creative process. I want, as a creative person, I want creative people to enjoy the music that we play. So the utmost thing is not that we're entertaining, but obviously there is an entertainment level to it. We want it to be enjoyable. Otherwise we just get up there and it wouldn't matter what we sounded like. We wouldn't have rehearsals and just say, oh, well, it's worship. God loves it from our heart. We want to do everything with excellence. I want to make sure that we do the best that we can do. And but in picking out a set list, I'll generally, if Pastor knows what his message is going to be about, he'll let me know, and I can, kind of pick songs that are thematically around that. For example, Easter, he talked about Jesus being the hope of the world. And so there's a song that we've done called Hope of the World.
Oh, okay.
And so, we did that song, and there was a couple other songs that talked about hope. And so that was, we did songs that revolved around that. Obviously songs that talked about the resurrection because it was Easter and things like that. But it's not just, I'm not just going to pick something because it sounds cool.
Yeah. I'm
not just going to pick something because I like it. Like you said, there is, you want to make sure that the words are accurate, that the things that we're singing are in fact correct.
Have you ever been singing a song and kind of go, I don't know if I really believe that theology?
Absolutely. No, that has happened quite often.
That happened to me with the song, and I actually mentioned on a show, on one of the early shows, there's a song called Job's Song or something like that.
Never heard of it.
And it's by Antioch. If you're at Antioch, LA, they have a worship team.
Okay.
And I actually want to get. Oh shoot! I'm blanking on his name
what?
right now. We're
I
Facebook
think
friends. I'm sorry.
I think that a girl I went to high school with, I think her sister was involved with the worship team there.
So there's a girl singing it, and my contention was, because if you take the story of Job, in the song they were basically alluding that God caused all the problems. You know what I mean? Like basically, they're saying, God, you have done this, you have done this. And my contention was, well, if you read Job, if you look at the story of Job, and whether or not it's historical or not, if you look at the themes of Job, it was basically, it's a story of a test, but God didn't cause it. Indirectly, he may have, kind of, sort of, indirectly.
In allowing things to happen?
In allowing things to happen, but he didn't do it. Like, in the story, it was, Satan,
right,
like his adversary,
right,
was basically given kind of, all right, my guy over here is strong. He can take whatever you're dishing. Basically, was how the story goes. And
so
I have my own hang-ups with the story.
Right.
So that, but that aside, my hang-ups aside with the story, like what it's trying to teach, I get the lesson of the story. But the song is saying that God is the one causing all these pains.
Right.
And that you're righteous because you've gone through all these pains. And I'm like, God didn't cause it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked the song, though, musically. But I had a huge just issue with the theology of it. And it almost like I couldn't listen to the song anymore.
Well, it's like in that Job says, "Blessed be the Lord who gives and takes away."
Yeah. That was that they were using that line.
And that is, people quote that all the time as, well, blessed be the Lord who gives and takes away.
Yeah.
But it's less about, that's just something that Job had said in the midst of that trial.
Right.
That doesn't mean that is something that we believe.
Yeah.
Just because there's a verse in the Bible of someone saying something doesn't mean that I apply that to every area of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be an evil person in the Bible saying something, an evil king quoting, saying whatever. I'm not going to take that and apply that to everything.
Right.
That was Job responding. That's what, how he felt about the situation. But like you said, it was the devil. It was Satan.
He was the one
that was the one that did those
damage.
things. So, there's other songs that have those same lines in it, and that's another thing where I'll be like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but yeah, that's part of it. Is I don't agree with everything every song says.
Yeah. Is there a certain kind of like theme that you like, kind of stick with, that kind of more speak to you, and you feel like
anything that's more direct, singing to God and worshiping God, is kind of what I try to incorporate.
Okay.
Less about songs about me and what I am and what I have and da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Less of that. Now there's songs that, like You Have Won Me, for example. Jesus, you have won me. You have broken every chain with love and mercy. You have triumphed over death, and you are worthy of honor and praise, glory and praise. So that those lines, it talks about me, but it's more focused on God.
Right.
And that's the thing. My job as a worship leader is to direct our attention to God. It's like the priests in the Old Testament. Their job was to worship God and to teach the people how to worship God. And that's kind of, my job as a worship leader is to worship God first and foremost, and to teach the people how to worship God.
Yeah.
And we all worship regardless of if we believe in God or not. We worship something because there's that nature that we've been created to worship something.
Yeah.
And so we're going to worship whatever it is that we're into. And so it's, teaching people that it's okay to sing these songs. And I don't know why it is, but it seems like guys have the hardest time doing that,
The hands in the pockets. I'm so cool, man. I'm not going to raise my hands.
Exactly. Guys they have the hardest time kind of participating in worship.
Well, I think it's just women are generally...
Probably our culture anyways, more
could
than
be our
anything.
culture too, but I think that women are generally more... They're more
emotional,
more on an emotional level, and that's not a bad thing. That's if you're married. I mean, my wife's my second half. Like, she has so much more to offer than I could ever offer, by myself. So, two halves make a whole kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm more analytical, and I'm the sarcastic and condescending person. That's the kind
You're
of stuff
the
I'm
thinker,
to,
she's the feeler.
Well, yeah, kind of some thinker maybe, but I might, but she's a lot more operates on a level of emotion and kind of personal experience.
Sure.
And that's great,
Sure.
And but I think I've always, as a guy, I've always kind of been more of an emotional person anyway, so I can totally get that. And there's times where I wanted to raise my hands up, and like I would be in a church and no one's raising their hands. Just so awkward.
Yeah.
But awkward feeling. Does it, when you see people either responding or not responding to a song, do you notice that when you're leading worship, or
Absolutely.
are you kind of in your, do you think, oh man, I gotta work harder?
I used to be more that way.
Yeah, but
I used to be more that way. Like we need the people to. I felt like the people had to have some sort of response.
Yeah.
We had to get to a certain level before anything could happen.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't think that way anymore. And a lot because a lot of the people in our church and a lot of the focus of our church has changed to be more of an outreach, towards those that don't know Jesus, instead of just catering to people that have been in church their whole lives.
Right.
I feel like, we don't want to just maintain this cycle of recycling Christians through churches. Like they get sick of this church, so they're going to go to this church, and then they go to this church. Oh, cool, we got some new members. They were from this church, and it's like, I think our responsibility is more to reach those that don't know Christ and have them come to the church and grow in their relationship with Him.
So you're less worried about what the congregation is doing, and is kind of just focus on you. Do you try to focus on you, just using the time for you to worship? Is that how you look at it? Or is there?
It's
kind of a juggling act, right?
It's a balance because understanding that the reason I'm here is I'm not here to entertain you.
Yeah.
I'm here to worship, but I'm here to lead you in worship. So in my own personal worship time, where I might have my eyes closed the whole time, and I might have my hands lifted the entire time, I might be on my knees, in my own personal worship time. When I'm leading in worship, I might not be doing that because I'm looking and I'm seeing the way that I see that God is moving in the congregation, the way that the Holy Spirit is moving. It's not like He's physically moving and dancing around, or anything, but the way that people are responding, you can see that's how God's moving in their hearts in that moment, and so I can kind of gauge exactly what we're going to do. Like maybe the plan was we were going to sing this song, this chorus, 2 times, but man, this is the people are really connecting with this, and God's doing something here. So let's sing that chorus again. Let's go back to that chorus, or maybe there's a song that we didn't even have planned for today, and that's more of a rare occasion.
Yeah.
We try not to do. We try to be as prepared as we can. I like to when I talk to worship leaders, because I'll speak to worship leaders in conferences or whatever, and I talk about over preparing. That it's none of this like, well, we'll just go up there and see what happens.
Right.
We need to over prepare, and from that being over prepared, if we feel like we're supposed to go a different direction, we can be sensitive to that and do that. So,
what's been? I know that we talked earlier about kind of music, especially with me, like has brought even in my darkest had the most like anger and doubt, I would just be filled with it, and just one song would basically make me question it, or just kind of make me more at peace and kind of just throw my hands up and just not worry about it so much.
Sure.
Music's a powerful thing, even non-Christian music. What's been like? I guess, have you had an experience where you've seen praise and worship music just really affect someone as you've been leading worship, or has
Oh yeah.
What is there something that sticks out in your mind?
I mean, a particular story.
Yeah.
I can't think of one particular one off the top of my head right now, but there's a lady that in the church that she's going through a lot of things with her family right now. Her son is in the middle of some serious legal issues, some very serious things. I mean, I'm talking the worst thing that you could be charged with. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty bad. And so she's in the middle of all of this, and we were doing a song. I think it was Always. It's called Always, and it just talks about how God is always faithful, regardless of what we're going through. That He's always faithful, and that has really spoke to her. And she came up to me after a service or something. I think she was helping out at the office one day or something, and she came up and told me how, that song has really been speaking to her. And, I think at all levels, there's always people that a song is going to, speak to more than somebody else, maybe depending on what you're going through. And even in my personal life, there was some things that I was dealing with, I would say maybe like 2 years ago, just nothing like crazy, but just a time where I was
You weren't
really...
in heroin or anything?
No.
No heroin use?
No heroin,
okay.
no. Just, some stuff that I was just maybe emotionally or whatever, just maybe felt like this fear of something, and I just, this one song that I had been listening to, man, I literally would have it on repeat on my cell phone, on my iPhone, just right next to my bed.
Yeah.
And it would just give me such peace. It was just kind of in this moment of, maybe confusion or frustration, like you said, and this song, the lyrics to the song, and the music. I mean, every part of it just really gave me such a peace. Yeah. And so I see how that is so important in people's lives. And, people want to, I'm going to take my jacket off because now I'm getting a little warm. People want to say that it's just, emotionalism or, whatever they want to call it. But, I definitely think there's something very real to it. Like you said, even with secular music or non-Christian, if you want to call it secular, sacred versus secular, Christian, non-Christian, music is music. And I don't like classifying it either. Art is art. Yeah. And it's how people express themselves. I think that worship music is specifically designed to, for us to worship God with, which I think that's in a different category. I'm not a big Christian music listener. Yeah. I listen to a lot of worship music and other music. Yeah. I don't particularly enjoy contemporary Christian music. Yeah. There's some bands that I do enjoy, but for the most part, not really a big fan. But, I would say with any style of music, I remember a buddy that I had was a big Deftones fan, and he was always so depressed, and I'm like, of course, like, you listen to the Deftones all the time.
Most depressing music ever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the music's cool, and I get it, but I understand how it speaks to us so much that, I'm just real careful about what I do listen to, even in the non-Christian genre or whatever.
Well, it's interesting how music affects people totally. Yeah. I think I have a good balance. Depending on my mood, I'll listen to certain things. Like I'm getting older, so I'm listening to a lot of like Dennis and Whitmer and, Iron and Wine and stuff like that.
Folky stuff.
Noah Gunderson. Okay. Folky type, but that's
Iron and Wine's cool, yeah.
Just because my life outside of everything else is so hectic. My job is ridiculous. It's a full day of solving people's problems on the computer and talking all day long. Yeah. And then I get home and it's the kids, the kids are great. I love being a parent, but it's work, so in my car, when I need a break, I'm turning on something. When I'm listening to music, it's generally something more relaxed and laid back. Right. If I'm trying to get the house clean, something like that, I'm putting on some Bon Jovi.
Something more motivating. Yeah.
Something, still fun, but I used to listen to a lot of Deftones. I used to listen to I never got into Korn, but you can always tell a Korn fan.
Yeah, you can.
You can.
I met Head Welch, by the way.
Oh, did you?
I did at the NAMM show this year.
Man, I'm trying to get him on the podcast, so we'll have to work that out.
He's a really nice guy.
He's scared, Joey actually knows his manager, so we're trying to work that out. Cool. Brian, if you're listening, man, seriously, we're non-combative. We just want to hear your story. That's pretty much it. Yes. But it is, when I was going through stuff and just angry, I wanted to listen to some hardcore. Like, there was a band called Strife that I really liked. Even a band like Living Sacrifice, who's a Christian band, but their stuff is so heavy and like you're in a certain mindset when you're listening to certain types of music. So. Right. Music is a fascinating thing, it always has been, and there's people that will reject heavy metal and stuff like that and say it's of the devil or anything like that. I think I've in my experience with all that, I think we woven in and out of music and appreciate all kinds. I can see pretty much a time and a place for pretty much everything except for like rap. Some rap, like the hardcore stuff, Right. There's just, I don't know.
I like good hip hop music, but there's not a lot of it.
But there's certain kinds that even myself, even as somebody who's like, well, you're not necessarily, don't consider yourself a Christian, so whatever. But there are certain things that, man, if you listen to certain, even words constantly, it definitely is going to affect you.
It affects the way you talk, man.
No denying
it's so
that.
True. Just to give you an example, when I was in junior high, on the way to school, I'd have my cassette Walkman. This is, there were things that actually played cassette tapes that were portable. They were called Walkman.
I had a waterproof yellow one.
Oh, those were awesome. I wanted one. Mine was a Sony, but it wasn't the waterproof yellow one.
Just in case you need to take it to the pool.
Those were so cool. Exactly. So, or the bathtub, the shower, whatever. So, I was on my way to school, I remember in junior high, and I would have DC Talk, Jesus Free, the cassette for that. But inside of that cassette was actually Snoop Doggy Dogg, his album called Doggy Style. Mm-hmm. Or I also had Dr. Dre's album, The Chronic, and I had written with a Sharpie on the actual CD itself. The picture on the CD was a marijuana leaf.
Oh, okay.
And so I wrote on it. I wrote Jesus on it, and then I drew a cross, and then I called it Dr. Dream instead of Dr. Dre, and then The Chronicles. In case my parents found it, they wouldn't know that that's what it was.
That's hardcore.
But
I just locked mine in.
I was all about. Yeah, I did. And all my tapes were in a shoebox hidden in the. It was like NWA and you know, all these like hardcore gangster rap back then, Death Row Records. So
we're eerily. I'm listening to this. We're eerily similar.
Yeah.
Same exact thing for me. I forgot to lock my drawer one day, and my dad found all my stuff.
Oh, bummer. See, that's
that was a sad.
You
day.
got it found. I turned myself in a weeping mess. You know, yeah. So I was I was a kid in junior high. People would literally pay me to write the lyrics to the songs out because I had them memorized.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I had these songs memorized like nothing, and it did, like you said, though, it affected the way that I talk.
Yeah,
it affected the way I interacted with people. I was a lot more angry because the music is very angry. I mean, it's constantly talking about sex and violence and drugs and with no regard for anybody, and so it really did affect me. And I never got into any of that stuff. I pretended like I was, whatever, but I was never into any of it. But the fact is, like, that it does affect you. It just shows you the effect that music has on your life and the way that you interact with people and all of that. But it was funny. I remember writing the lyrics down to the songs and people paying me like $1, and here's the lyrics to this song by Snoop Dogg or whatever.
Yeah, I listened to Today Was a Good Day by Ice Cube, but I never had to take out my AK.
Right. Shake 'em up, shake 'em up, shake 'em up, shake 'em. I was playing the Settlers of Catan, one of my favorite board games of all time, yesterday, and we were playing, and my buddy, as he was rolling the dice, he was saying, shake 'em up, shake 'em up, shake 'em up, shake 'em. Totally.
That's great.
A line from that song.
That's awesome. Right. I feel like there's a point where you get to be an adult where you can kind of separate, the bad from the good and kind of, listen to a song and kind of get it, but I think there is a certain, and as a parent now, as a kid I didn't get it, but as a parent now I can see, development as the child develops. There's a time and a place for everything. So it's going to be weird, me as an adult navigating my kids through the world of music and stuff like that.
Right.
Just because I have experience with it, and I never turned into a gangsta or like that,
Right.
But it did. I did get, I was a very rebellious as far as my mindset, and it did affect me, my mood, and when I would get mad, if I get mad at my parents, first thing I do would be listen to something they didn't want me to listen to. Mm-hmm. Even as an adult with like movies and stuff.
Yep.
I've bought cartoons, I've bought the DVDs because like my parents never let me watch this. I'm buying it now.
He-Man.
Exactly. He-Man. I bought He-Man. 33 years old,
evil.
And I'm buying He-Man just because my parents never let me watch it. It's just, my wife is like, "You're so weird." I'm like, but it's.
I had the phases, man. There was the phases where my parents made me throw away all of my Cobra action figures. I could keep all my Joes, but I had to ditch all the Cobras, and it was because of their friends that were these hyper crazy, Christian. People that wouldn't let their kids play with them or wouldn't let their kids watch anything. There was like this time where I couldn't even watch Ninja Turtles, because
there was a kind of,
anything with the, the animals that were talking was bad, almost.
And they're fighting. And
and the meditation and all those things. So, but I would sneak it. I go up to my grandma's room and watch it in there, whatever.
How dare you?
Yeah.
You're so rebellious.
Oh, terrible.
So it's going to be weird. I think it's all about, life, I'm learning, and it's all about balance.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And, I don't necessarily listen to a lot of worship music anymore, but, occasionally I will. And, there's a calming factor to it, and I don't know what that is.
I'll give you some good CDs that you'll enjoy.
All right, man, I guess.
Yeah. You got to promise me you'll listen to them.
No, because I'll turn into just a weeping mass on the ground.
But I got some stuff that's kind of along that folky sound.
There you go.
Like,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can't listen to. Oh shoot! What are they? Oh gosh, I just posted about them on the site not too long ago. He just interviewed. Who's the big folk person out right now? Their parents are
Mumford and Sons.
Mumford and Sons. Yeah, Christians can't listen to Mumford and Sons anymore
because they don't like to be called Christians.
Yeah.
I read that.
So
their parents are like the guy's parents are like the head of Vineyard for the UK or something.
Well, he has that background. What's funny is how Christians kind of put a certain person up on a pedestal. Like, oh, he has a Christian background, so boom.
Exactly.
And he says, well, I'm not really Christian,
He likes the teachings of Jesus, but he doesn't call himself a Christian.
Yeah, I can totally relate to the guy, the Mumford, whatever his name is. I was reading that article, and I was like, I totally get you. I get it. I totally get it. But then there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I guess we can't listen to Mumford and Sons in youth group anymore. Oh, I guess great kids I can't listen to anymore because they're not Christian. But it's...
One of the guys that leads worship in our youth group, he will occasionally throw a hook from a Mumford song.
How dare him?
Into one of the worship songs.
Yeah.
And like Awake My Soul.
Yeah.
Just singing that line over and over again. And
there's music that's spiritual in a way, and that's the thing. I think music is used as a form of communication, and whatever your background is, whatever you're going through, it's a great tool to kind of just therapeutically yourself get something down and out, of your soul.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And I think music is a powerful tool. Have you considered writing anything?
I have.
On your own, or
absolutely. I have written some songs. It's been a really long time.
Yeah.
But I have written some stuff, and I have a little bit of some OCD tendencies and some perfectionist qualities, and so it's really hard for me to write a song and finish it.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same with lyrics.
I really want to get with someone who is a producer that will have the final word on some things, and kind of get that out of my thinking. And let them make those decisions, because otherwise we'll be here, for years working on one song.
Yeah.
So, but that's definitely something that I want to do, and even as a church, that the bridge, whatever God is doing within that church, within our church body, in the lives of the people, that songs come out of that. Mm-hmm. That we're not just singing other people's songs all the time. I don't want us to be. And we're not a glorified cover band, leading people in Christian karaoke.
Yeah.
That's not our purpose. But I could see how people could view it that way. But I definitely want to start writing our own songs.
Yeah. Well,
stuff that are coming out of the voice of our people.
Well, I think people also want to hear some familiarity.
And that's why we do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll do songs that people know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's just all these new songs that nobody's ever heard, nobody's singing, nobody's worshiping, they're just sitting there watching us.
You almost have to kind of weave it in once you have new songs.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just teaching someone at the church.
We introduce them slowly.
A new song, yeah.
We'll do a new song maybe as special music.
Yeah.
And then maybe do it the next week, incorporate it into it.
Cool.
So there's familiarity.
Yeah.
Or we've been playing it on a CD before while people are walking in, so they're hearing it subliminally and then they get it.
Cool. The church is using subliminal stuff, man. That's not good.
Oh no. He's saying subliminal. Oh, we're doing backmasking?
No, I guess is that Oh man. So as you're writing, are you trying to avoid kind of the
cliche,
the Christian cliche? Like that video. There's that video on
how to write a worship song. Absolutely.
Hold on. I'm gonna play that for you guys right now. Hold on.
Welcome to the Blimey Cow tutorial on how to write a worship song in 5 minutes or less. First off, chord progression. Now look, every good worship song only needs 4 chords. You can add an extra one in the bridge if you're feeling especially artistic, but you really only need just 4. Just make sure that you play it really loud and that you have a lot of delay on the lead guitar. And if you're stuck on a chord progression, just try the classic 1st, 5th, minor 6th, 4th. If this terminology seems foreign to you, don't worry, we're sure you've heard it before. Sound familiar? Oh, and if you want your song to sound a little less uplifting and a little more convicting, try my next favorite, minor 6th, 4th, 1st, 5th. they'll never see it coming. Now that we've got the music down, we need some praiseworthy lyrics. Now, the lyrics don't need to be deep, they just need to be easy enough so that people can remember them by the second time they get to the chorus. Otherwise, the worship leader is going to be up there belting out tunes while everyone else is like... By the way, your song needs to rhyme too. Now don't get overwhelmed, I've got some worship song essentials right here. We'll start with an easy one. Hallelujah rhymes with hallelujah. This particular word is lots of fun because it's allowed to be repeated as many times as you want in the song, and there's no specific rules for its usage. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Be creative, sing a few syllables a couple times first before finishing with a powerful Yah. And here's some other easy rhymes to get you started. Sing rhymes with king. Perfect love rhymes with always enough. Praise rhymes with days and grace. Heaven's gate rhymes with this place. And fire rhymes with desire. Oh, and don't forget that one thing in your song should always be on fire. Be it our hearts, our souls, this generation, just something needs to be in flames. And if you're suffering from severe writer's block, just remember that it's perfectly fine to throw in a couple of lines from Amazing Grace just to add some archaic flair. Okay, so we've got the chords, we've got the music. Now all we need is the riff. The riff is the set of notes that makes your worship song sound awesome. To create your riff, find your root chord in a D major shape on the guitar. And now it's easy, just move your pinky up and down. Try strumming it as a whole, or play it broken with some delay. And boom! Your song is officially cool. Oh, last tip, if you want your song to be youth conference ready, you can't forget the woes. Alright, I think this thing is ready. Let's go test it out. Good morning, everybody. It's time to worship God, okay? Here we go. Sing along if you know it.
All creation sings to the risen King, because His perfect love will always be enough. Hallelujah, your grace has rescued me. And hallelujah, I once was lost, but now I see.
So you guys are trying to avoid that.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly. We're trying to avoid that. On the flip side, there's, you don't want to use all, like how he talks about the rhyming phrases and all that stuff. Try to avoid that as much as possible and be as creative as we can.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of truths
Yeah.
that we're affirming in our songs
Yeah.
that might sound played out to people, but it's the truth. Singing about the holiness of God, singing about the greatness of God, singing about those things, which we've heard a million times in songs, but it doesn't make it any less valid. Sean just threw bottled water at a bird. Not the bottle, so he wasn't. He was being nice. There was a very loud bird.
I'm trying to
next
listen
us.
to Aaron, and I
can't
just
listen.
hear this bird in my right ear. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out
Got some ADD
for
going
all
on
of
there.
you, so I'm sorry about those friggin' birds.
Yeah, it's like we're in the jungle here.
All right.
But yeah, so trying to avoid the cliche rhymes and things like that. But thematically, there's a lot of overlap. That's just going to happen.
I think the actually even the chords used, there are certain chords in music that just have an effect. You know what I mean? You guys aren't going to play like a
chord
drop
progressions definitely have, depending on how that chord progression goes, it's going to have an emotional effect on you. And most songs, let's face it, people are like, every worship song has the same chords. No, every song has the same chord progression. I mean, especially in pop music.
Yeah.
And and worship is written in a style of pop generally. Mm-hmm. Why? Because people can sing it easily. So 9 times out of 10, we're not. If I'm writing a song for the sake of being creative, that's going to be different than something that I'm going to have the people, have the congregation sing. And so that's not the focus. Is to see how cool and creative we can be, and how many runs and how many hits and we can do in this song. I want people to be able to sing it and it have some sort of familiarity melodically, while still having a creative aspect. It's balancing all of that out. That's the tricky thing, and we understand as a worship leader, we understand that we can be manipulative with people's emotions. And my prayer every single time that I get up on stage is, or get up on the platform. I'm trying not to say stage as much. Get up on the platform is to understand that. Wait, what was I just saying? I totally just lost track.
But not manipulating.
Oh yeah, about not being manipulative. I mean, I could have a key change 6 times in a song, and then do all these different things to try to make something happen, or this song works. This song works. Yeah, sing the song like a million times, like youth camp. No, I can't handle it either. So it's like we could do all of these things to get an emotional response from the people, but then that response is, in my opinion, it's not genuine. We're forcing something to happen, and I think that's dangerous. I feel like that's me playing with people's emotions, and I need to let God be the one that dictates that, and not be the one to try to force something to take place. And I could say, well, this song works every time, and so we're going to do that. And that's just a dangerous thing to say.
This will bring him to the knees.
Exactly. Yeah. And God's maybe trying to do something totally different in this service than He was trying to do in that last service, and I'm trying to bring it back, to that time. It's like the story of Moses, when he strikes the rock, when God tells him to speak to the rock. He strikes the rock because it worked last time. God told him to strike the rock, and he does that thing again. Right. And it's like he's trying to reenact something that God told him to do, but that wasn't what God told him to do in that moment.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I like to see that is, man, I've got to be just so sensitive to what God's doing and not just do something because I know in my brain it's going to work. So if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
All right.
Well, I think we're about up for time.
Cool.
I want to thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course, man. When I first started the show, I was like, I need to talk to Aaron.
Yeah.
So it's good that it worked out. And I hope you all enjoyed the nice, relaxing sounds of the backyard. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's like spa sounds. Hopefully,
I don't even know.
Sleep.
Maybe none of the sounds even show up. I don't know. I'm not even wearing headphones, so I can't even tell you.
We're not using condenser mics.
No, just plain old Behringer, crappy little mics.
Yeah.
So they always turn out okay.
You're brave going with Behringer.
It was cheap.
Yeah.
I don't have tons of money for this thing.
Exactly.
Unless you want to donate to the podcast, you can go to the AxPx.com, and there's a PayPal link right there. You can donate to the show, or you can buy some swag in the store area. Buy
hats,
a t-shirt.
mugs, mouse pads, underwears.
Not underwear.
Oh.
Not yet. I can't really make the logo fit on a G-string. I don't know. But hey, if you want the show to sound better and better, you can donate to the show, and I'll buy better equipment. I don't know. As always, the show brought to you by Charming Beard Coffee. I realize I need to change the jingle at the beginning of the show. I'll change it up so you don't hear the same ad every single time. But if you go to charmingbeard.com, you can type in the promotion code AXPX and get 10% off of your order of coffee. It's good stuff, good coffees, and I really like them a lot. So, Aaron, where can people find you if you want people to, stalk you on the internet?
Yes, you can stalk me on the internet at Twitter. It is Aaron the Craniac, AaronTheCraniac. That is Aaron the Craniac. You could also find our church online at www.thebridgechurch.tv, and we'd love to have you come hang out.
All right. You can find us on Twitter. The AXPX is the handle there. And I'm not as always. I don't really have a full schedule lined up for the show. I know that I want to talk to. There's a gay affirming church I want to talk to in the near future called. Is it the United Congregational Church of Brea, something like that? And have an interesting, a lot of great people that worship there. I'm going to hopefully talk to a few of the congregation members and also the co-pastors, both pastors. I know that me and Joey need to have a conversation. He went to an atheist convention, so I want to talk to Joey about that and we'll chat about that hopefully in the near future. And who are the other guests I'm working on? Still working on Jay Baker, and also working on getting Mike Herrera from MXPX on the show. So good stuff coming
and
up.
Brian Head Welch, hopefully, right?
Brian Head Welch, I would love to hear his story. He has a pretty amazing story, so I would love to talk to him. And it's just kind of the longer I have the show out, the longer people realize that, I may be a little bit, opinionated on Twitter and Facebook, but the show is all about just having conversations and dialogues with people I may not, either may agree with or may not agree with.
He just wants to hear your story, guys.
Exactly. Thanks, Aaron. All right, well, I hope you have a great week. Joey will be back next week, and so I'm sorry, Joey, that I had to not have you on the show. But it's your fault for being gone.
We missed you, Joey.
And I'm talking to the microphone. I don't know. All right, all of you have a great week. Bye-bye.
Tell you how I feel.
It's like,
I've never done a podcast interview, Sean, so
it's fun, man.
I'm enjoying this.
It's just talking.
Mm-hmm. Just talking with microphones in our faces.
Yeah, it's totally natural. Completely. You all right, man? You're like right in the sun.
Oh, I'm good. It feels good. I like the sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have like this weird thing about sweating. I hate sweating.
Really?
Like if I'm in clothes.
Yeah, I don't like it either, but I'm not hot right now.
All right,
so
okay,
I'm good.
Cool. All right. I'm weird. I'm also weird about public restrooms and urinals.
Like what?
I just hate urinals.
You'd like to use
And I
the
hate
stall
public
to pee?
restrooms. Yes.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I don't, unless there's a divider, I don't really like it.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it is.
Even with the divider.
Really?
There needs to be a space also.
A divider and their feet are too close.
I just go to the
Get your
stall.
foot away.
Go to the stall, take care of business, we're good to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't look at me.
I feel
Don't-
you.
I never make eye contact in a bathroom. I don't know what the thing is. Even if I know the person, hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Right.
So if I ever see you in a public restroom and I just don't make eye contact, it's my own.
And I probably
It's my
won't
own
shake
hangups.
your hand.
No.
I'm a bit of a germ freak.